This is a video that shows you how I went about drawing the mouth. Rather than draw my lips in a relaxed expression, I decided to draw my mouth grinning, because when I teach, a lot of students ask me how to draw teeth. Also, I found it more awkward keeping my mouth still for that long in a relaxed expression, and this one was actually more natural for me, although I had to hold it for about 45 minutes. There are lots of different expressions you can pull, and different viewpoints you can draw from, so you may want to try several drawings in your sketchbook and use your camera on your phone to help you. I did 2 drawings on my page because I wanted to explore texture as well as tone, although I wasn't satisfied with the quality of my first drawing and I wanted to improve it. Funnily enough, this second drawing only took me 15 minutes. I have added a link on the PowerPoint to another video of an artist who draws lips in a more relaxed expression if you want to have a look at this as well. I have made video demonstrations of how to draw the eyes, nose and mouth to help you with your learning, but there are loads of tutorials out there on YouTube that will help you with how to draw absolutely anything you want, so I challenge you to have a look out there and see what you can do. I start my drawing by lightly drawing a cross. These are construction lines that I use to anchor the centre of my mouth and the middle line or top lip. I draw very basic shapes to start off, very lightly, just to get the angles and curves right. Like the construction lines, these can always be rubbed out later. I lightly mark out the height where I want my upper and lower lip to be, and a line for where I think the teeth from my upper jaw comes down to. I check and change any shapes that don't look right, and I will do this throughout my drawing. I think about which teeth I can see, which ones stand out the most because they are more in front and in the light, and which ones are harder to see because they are further back of my mouth and in the shadow. I mark up a space for the front teeth, and then mark out the individual teeth, making sure I keep the correct scale, thinking about which ones are bigger and which ones are smaller. I then draw in the shape of each tooth, being careful to record the correct angles, roundness, any chips or general weirdness. I also need to think about how the gum line curves around the teeth and how much is hidden by the top lip. Remember, people won't care about the shape of your teeth. They will just be thinking about what a mind-blowingly amazing drawing you have just done, so please draw honestly. Now that I've drawn my teeth in, I start to draw the outline for the lips. Your lips curve in unusual ways. For example, my upper lip goes down in the middle, up, then up again. It's never just one straight curve, so to speak, so keep your eye on that detail. Measuring proportions helps get the shape right. For example, I can see that the height of my top lip is the same as the height of my front tooth, and that lines up with the edge of my left front tooth and the first third of my right lateral incisor. Yes, I had to Google that. Before I start shading, I work out where the teeth further back in my mouth line up, and I do this the same way as I did for my front teeth. It is also worth figuring out where my bottom teeth are in proportion to my top teeth, although these will mostly be in shadow. I shade my darker tones in first because this is the darkest part of my drawing and I know that it will need to be almost black. I press down hard on my pencil but soft enough to allow me to shade smoothly. I take care to keep looking at my mouth and taking pressure off the pencil for any parts that appear lighter. Even though I'm shading now, I'm still trying to work out the shape of my lips. I'm still checking, rubbing out and changing parts where needed. Holding my pencil flat, I use a mid-tone to shade in the larger sections. I use kitchen roll to smudge this in to make my tones smoother. Remember, kitchen roll, blending tool or smudge stick are okay, but fingers are not due to the natural oils that you have on your skin. I add my dark tones in, graduating smoothly from dark to mid-tones by gently easing the pressure off my pencil. I need to think about the shape as I'm doing this, as the form of the lips are curved and this will help make them look 3D. I start to think about capturing the reflections on the lips. This includes darker tones as well as highlights, and I really need to think about the shape of the detail. I smudge the kitchen roll over my teeth because I know I want to pick out highlights with the rubber later. This will help them look like they're glistening. I go over the edges of the teeth gently with a sharp pencil to add definition to the shape and then shade in the gums. I then shade the bottom teeth and the upper teeth that are further back in the mouth. The upper teeth need to be a lighter shade than the bottom ones. The bottom teeth range from almost black to a very dark mid-tone, depending on how much they are in the shadows and how much of them you can actually see, although they must be dark enough to provide a high contrast with the front teeth. I keep going back over dark tones and detail with a sharp pencil to correct and emphasise the shapes and contrasts. Now I'm using a sharp rubber to pick out the highlights. You can make your rubber sharp by cutting the corner off your normal rubber and using the point on it. I then need to work back into the midtones and edges with a sharp pencil. Think about all of the interesting reflection shapes you can see and try to capture them accurately. Use your kitchen roll or blending tool to dull down some of your highlights and blend them smoothly into the midtones. Finally, finish off by going over all of your edges, details and dark tones with a sharp pencil just to refine your drawing, and you'll be done. Like I said, I wasn't fully satisfied with my first drawing and I wanted to challenge myself to concentrate on texture, so I completed a second drawing of my lips pouting. This was a much quicker sketch. Once I'd drawn the shape of the lips how I saw them, I began to divide these up by the creases I could see where my lips were pursed tightly together. I drew in the most obvious, more prominent creases first, then counted how many smaller creases I could see, adding these into the gaps, paying attention to the width of the spaces in between. I start shading my dark tones in straight away, as I'm concentrating on each section individually. Again, I'm paying attention to the shape, where it curves, as this will show off the form of my lips and make them look 3D. I'm paying close attention to detail, remembering that my dark tones aren't always at the very edge of my lips, and thinking about how my dark tones are needed to contrast with highlights for the reflections. I start sketching in my midtones, not bothering with kitchen roll this time, as I am after a rough texture and adding dark tones where I see them. Finally, I use a sharp rubber to pick out highlights, then go over tones and detail with a sharp pencil.